AFSCME in the house? Well, brothers and sisters, we are in a very exciting time. It's 35 days until the gubernatorial election here in Minnesota, where we can finally end the reign of terror that the conservatives have had an attack on the public service here in Minnesota. Brothers and sisters, people power means it's our time. People power means it's time for us to mobilize like we've never before. People power means it's time for us to stand up to the cheap labor conservatives that want to push us back to the point where public employees are public servants and that our wages are busted down and they want to take away our pensions. It's time for us to push back. All across this state, we've seen the struggles that we've had both with our employers and also, more importantly, to defend the services that we all provide. It's all of us, the people power in this room, that defends the standard of living of Minnesota's workers. It's all of us in this room that defend the services for the needy. It's all of us in this room, true people power, that make sure that Minnesota and Minnesotans live in the era of prosperity that we all deserve. And quite simply, brothers and sisters, when we win, the public wins as well. When we win, like we did in the city of Duluth, when we had a mayor that was attacking our services, that wanted to privatize our public utilities, which would have raised gas rates that would have heated the homes in Minnesota and left us at the mercy of corporations. It was AFSCME that stood up to the mayor and stopped that privatization attempt, and it was AFSCME that defended our contract. Brothers and sisters, it's struggles like that where it's not only are we defending our rights and our wages and our benefits and pushing those forwards, it establishes the standard for all employers in those communities. The cheap labor conservatives that we have right now that are running, whether it's Tom Emmer or Tom Horner, and don't ever be confused, Tom Horner's a Republican just like Emmer. And whether it's either one of the terrible Toms, their goal is simple. It's to lower our wages and benefits. It's to push us back to the point where we sit at the employer's feet, and we are not going to let it happen. That's right. And as we said, when we look at struggles that we've had all around this great state, and another battle that we had in Duluth at Chris Jensen Nursing Home. There, the county board privatized the nursing home. It was horrible. But the employees banded together and fought back. The employer may have privatized that nursing home, but the employees there were never going to give up on their union. And together, through solidarity days and showing the strength and unity and true people power to that employer, those employees were able to achieve a fair and decent contract despite the employer's efforts to break their union, despite their efforts to break away their layoff rights, despite their efforts to bust back their wages and benefits. And it's simply put, it's like this, brothers and sisters. Without good quality staff, how can good quality services ever be provided? And we're right? We all know this. It makes simple sense. True people power means that you take care of the people that provide the services. If you want good quality services, you need to have a stable workforce that's paid well and has high morale. For solid examples of that, you just need to look at the Minneapolis Vets Home. Where are you, brothers and sisters, in 744? The union is simply not a book that we all get when we get hired. The union is simply not a book that gets handed to us at contract time that's ratified. The union exists in all of us. It's when we all act and we realize, like they have at the Minneapolis Vets Home, that when we all stand together, that's what a true union is. Through solidarity days and through different solidarity picnics that not only improve the morale at the nursing home, it also improve the quality of life for the veterans living there. And let's give it up for Local 744. The times that we have are tough. We all know it. I had a chance to listen to the former president of the Steelworkers, George Becker, describe a story of when he grew up in East St. Louis. He grew up in East St. Louis and he went to work in the National Steel there in the steel mills in East St. Louis. And when he was young, he said he was a Golden Gloves boxer. And one day in his club, the heavyweight was looking for a sparring partner. There was no one there to spar the heavyweight. Finally, one of the lightweights raised his hand and said, "All right, I'll spar with you." They got into the ring, and that lightweight peppered him all over, hit him many times, and every once in a while the heavyweight would land a punch, but when he landed that punch, he knocked him down. But that lightweight got up and peppered him again and again and again. Now, by anybody that would score that fight, by any judge, would say that the heavyweight won that fight. But at the end of the day, George Becker said, when he left, the lightweight said, "Hey, I'll spar you next week," to the heavyweight. And that heavyweight said, "No way in hell." Now, I want to ask you, brothers and sisters, who really won that fight? Becker. It's that lightweight. It's when you fight to the point where the other side never wants to fight back. And when they never want to pick the fight to begin with. We look at what happened in Minsk. There where the administration wanted to give bonuses to their top executives that were already paid six-figure salaries. We protested, right? That's right, it's boo. They wanted to give them bonuses of $40,000 a year. Just as much as any one of our members get paid in Minsk. And it was simply wrong. So what did we do? We protested, we fought back. And quite honestly, it's points like that, even if they pass those bonuses, it's important that we stand up and we fight so that they know every time they do that something unjust, that AFSCME will be there saying it's wrong. That's what people power means. But beyond that, it's time for us to use our people power to push back on these employers and to defend the services that we provide. The best way that we can do that is by growing our ranks. But to look at, where's Local 602 for Morehead State? Where are they in the hall here? Brothers and sisters over here, they did an excellent job this year. They saw that there was a group of dining service workers on their campus employed by Sodexo. They were not organized. Those employees were treated disrespectfully from their employer and paid wages that are a lot lower than theirs and have wages and benefits a lot lower than our members. Well, the local didn't stand around and just watch that happen, didn't sit around and watch that injustice happen. What they did is they reached out to those workers, and they helped organize those workers, and now the Sodexo workers at Morehead State are now a part of this great union. Fightbacks like this just don't happen. We had Brother Keyproth up here, and I see the brothers in corrections. We know right now that the state of Minnesota has cut back on corrections, and our correction officers that walk the toughest beats of anywhere in this state, we know that they have very dangerous, low staffing right now to the point where, I'm afraid that someone may get hurt. But are we going to sit back and take it? No. Hell no, we're not. What we're going to do is that Brother Hilliard, they're going to hear about it soon, aren't they, huh? You're damn right they are. Well, we're going to mobilize and we're going to put pressure and expose the problem and show the state of Minnesota that this union simply will not stand at any point when our members are put in jeopardy. Brother Ewald in the back. Local 8 in the same point. We've had a bargaining relationship with Ramsey County now for nearly 70 years. That's Local 8 for a reason. It's one of the oldest locals in AFSCME. And just recently, last year on September 14th, we organized and we received recognition to organize the librarians in Ramsey County. If it wasn't for the MAT structure and the mobilization that Local 8 had done to reach out to these non-union workers to help bring them in our great union, those workers would be left out in the cold still. Now with the organizing of Ramsey County librarians, the only unorganized county library system in the metro area is Anoka County. We've got all of them. That's a great stride forward for us, and we'll be visiting Anoka County again soon. When we look at that and how important that is, it's up to our responsibility as AFSCME to use our people power to make sure that libraries are open, to make sure that everyone has access to the marketplace of ideas. That is our job as a labor movement. That is our job as a union, to make sure that the sons and daughters of farmers and laborers have the same opportunities to read literature and have heart, the same as any wealthy person ever would. Brothers and sisters, it's the people in this room that do that defense. It's the people in this room that do that offense to make sure that those benefits are expanded to everyone. That's what people power means. And when we look back at this gubernatorial election, that's what this is about. Choices that we can make. We can look back at the damage that we've had in the past 8 years. We got 977 and 2474 in the House here. Right, there they are at Hennepin County Medical Center. We saw a dastardly attempt by Governor Plenty to try to eliminate the GAMC program, which takes care of the sickest and most vulnerable in our society, which is a major portion of the funding for Hennepin County Medical Center, one of the last few public safety net hospitals here in the state and also in the upper Midwest. That program would have been eliminated if it wasn't for our people power. We were able to save that program, not in the point that we want, but the point that I'm saying, brothers and sisters, is that we're at the turning point. With 35 days left until this election, with the election of a Governor Dayton, we can restore those cuts and bring back the care to those vulnerable people and what they need. And why does this matter? It's not just good for us. It's not just good for our members at 977. It's not just good for our members at 2474 at HCMC. It's important for us as a society as a whole. Because when we win, the Minnesotans win. Every worker in Minnesota wins because, as Paul Wellstone said, we all do better when we all do better. Because that's who we are, brothers and sisters. We are AFSCME. We are the public sector. We are that thin green line that holds the bottom up for everyone, that defends the attacks from the cheap labor conservatives that want to pit public sector workers against private sector workers. We're the one that stops that nonsense, because when they do that, when workers fight workers, we all lose. Collective bargaining rights for child care providers. That effort would lead to us organizing 6,000 new members and providing rights that all of you enjoy. If you think about it, these providers work in their homes by themselves. The state treats them as independent contractors. The state of Minnesota tells them how much they can charge and how much they can be paid through their subsidy rates, tells them how they can operate their business through rules and regulation. Now, I don't know about you, but anybody who tells me how much I'm going to get paid and how I have to do my work, that's a boss. That's a boss. And they have none of the rights that we have to form a union now. When we elect Governor Dayton, he promised to issue an executive order, then introduce a bill that would codify it in law, that would extend collective bargaining rights and the rights that we all enjoy to those providers, and that would grow our union and have a chance for us to go on the offense. This is not going to happen just solely by the election of Mark Dayton, but that's going to help. What's going to help at that point is for us to hold his feet to the fire, to hold him to what he knows is true, and it's going to take all of us to make sure that that vision of justice that we all share is realized. We made a brave early endorsement, an endorsement of Mark Dayton. We did, and it was good, and I commend us all for doing that. But now it's time for us to see that vision through. And that we're not the only ones writing on this, although we have a huge stake in it. This is a question of what we want this state to look like. I'm 35 years old, and I remember when Rudy Perpich was governor. Believe it or not, I do. And in fact, I can make a joke about it, how long ago that was. That's sad. But it's time that we have someone in the governor's mansion that looks out for the interests of all workers in this state. It's time that we have a governor that looks out for the interests of working people in this state. The one that wants to make sure that the children, the sons and daughters and the children of farmers and laborers, just like all of our children, have the same opportunities as somebody, even if their last name is Dayton. And it's us that can make it happen. Look around, Council 5, this is people power. And who are we? That's right. Thank you, brothers and sisters.